Pigskin Frenzy on this wonderful Thursday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris, and whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, or listening on Podbean, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some NFL coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the episode, and leave a comment down below. Spotify, if you're listening on there, share around with others, and follow on there as well. Podbean, same thing. If you're listening on there, share around with others, and follow on there also. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Twitter, it's at pigskin_frenzy, all lowercase. All you got to do is type that bad boy in the search engine. You'll find it. Follow on the page there. You'll get episode updates as well as news and highlights from across college and NFL football. Facebook, same thing. All you got to do is type in Pigskin Frenzy. Follow and like the page there. You'll get episode updates as well as news, highlights, and notifications from across college and NFL football. And Instagram, all you got to do is type in at Pigskin Frenzy. You'll follow, like the page there. You'll get episode updates as well as trivias on your stories, and as well as all things up to date with Pigskin Frenzy. Okay, so NFL day today. Lots of stuff coming out. I mean, more about some, NFL their gambling policy and some suspensions. We're going to have a little bit of a talk about this, but we're going to go on and talk about that. We're also going to be talking about some new updates regarding DaVante Parker and the New England Patriots. So don't leave yet. Subscribe to the channel. Keep plugging in to Pigskin Frenzy on all platforms. Like I said, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Follow each episode, like each episode, leave comments down below, follow, share around with others on Podbean and Spotify, listen to all platforms, as well as keep plugging in on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to get updates and news and highlights from across college, NFL football, and up to date with all things Pigskin Frenzy. So keep plugging in, and let's begin. Sorry, I'm just trying to promote here, but let's begin. Let's get right into it, and let's talk about, DaVante Parker and what's going on with him. This will be quick. I'm not going to, spring in too much. I have a lot to talk about with the suspensions and the gambling policy later on, but let's get right into it with DaVante Parker. So according to NFL insider Ian Rappert from NFL Network, he has reported that the New England Patriots and wide receiver DaVante Parker have agreed to a 3-year new deal worth $33 million with $14 million guaranteed. So New England Patriots have re-signed their receiver, their Matt Jones' go-to guy. DaVante Parker was traded last March, I believe, to the Miami Dolphins, and for a couple of second-round picks. Yeah, I mean, it was huge. DaVante Parker has been a liable asset for the New England Patriots. It's been working out. So, I mean, good on DaVante Parker for getting a new deal. He knows his worth, and he's a good receiver. He's one of the most underrated receivers in the league. I'm not going to put him in the top 10 or top 5, but he's just about there. I would say around 12, maybe 12, 11, or 12. DaVante Parker is not a bad receiver. He plays really well, and honestly, keep running with him, and he will help out Mac Jones in the long run of that offense. I'm very curious to see what he does in Bill O'Brien's offense and what he does coming up this year. I think DaVante Parker may take some good strides after getting this deal, and I think that it may work out in the long run, honestly. So congratulations to DaVante Parker for getting a new deal with the New England Patriots, and, just like I said, keep playing. Just keep on going and keep on using DaVante Parker. He's an asset to your team. He's an asset to any team. He's an asset to an offense that needs, a long route, play, right, from Mac Jones. So Mac Jones can throw a good deep ball. He can, and he can let that thing fly, man. He's got a cannon. So with that, and DaVante Parker can run some great, long routes down the field. I mean, it's a perfect match, honestly. I mean, DaVante Parker and Matt Jones together, good duo, good combo there. DaVante Parker getting a new deal. I think that is, something that is some good news that we can report on. And congratulations to him for getting a new deal. And I'm curious to see what he does in New England's offense with new offensive coordinator old offensive coordinator in Bill O'Brien. So here we go. moving on. We're going to talk about more of the gambling suspensions and policies. So, I kind of touched on this, in an episode a few weeks back on Pigskin Frenzy, but now we're going to get more into it because more news has come out. I talked about Colts defensive back Isaiah Rodgers, and we have an update on that. So reports came out earlier in the week that there were going to be suspensions handled out that included Isaiah Rodgers, and the reports in the situation has been handled today. So earlier today has been reported that Colts defensive back Isaiah Rodgers and Colts defensive end Rashad Berry have both been suspended for the 2023 season for betting on NFL games. They're both eligible to be reinstated in 2024. This was according to Garrett Podell from CBS Sports. Good writer. Go and listen to him and go and read his stuff. He's a good reporter for the NFL on CBS Sports. So Garrett Podell, my source for this one. And listen, with this, hear me out. They have both been released as well. So it has been reported that they've both been released from the Indianapolis Colts. Not only have they been suspended for the entirety of the season, they have both been suspended for, gambling on NFL games. Here on some of my notes, defensive back Isaiah Rodgers waged, his wagers included a $1,000 bet on the over and under of a Colts running back's rushing yards this season. Last season. So when you look at it and think about it, you're thinking, okay, absolutely. Right. It's not right for you to do this. Don't bet on NFL games. I've said this in the long term. Do not bet on NFL games. You're right. It's wrong. Don't break the rules. Follow the rules. If you're an NFL employee, it's like any other job. Do your job and do it to your complete capacity and follow the rules. You break any violations and violate any rules for your company, you're gonna get laid off or you're gonna get in trouble. So, yes, 100% agree. Don't do it. Here's my thing. Here is my thing right now. The punishments are different. And I've said this. Sorry for the long dramatic pause, but I've said this before. The punishments are different. And it's irritating almost. And it is. It gets frustrating. So I'm going to get into that in a minute. But they've both been released. So let's move on to this one before I get into what I was about to say. Titans offensive lineman Nicholas Petit Frere was also suspended Thursday. However, his suspension was 6 games instead of indefinitely because his bet was on non-NFL sports while at the Titans facility. The league's gambling rule is that no NFL employee can gamble in any club or league facility or venue, including a team's practice facility. Earlier this season, Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams and wide receiver Stanley Berryhill were suspended 6 games earlier in the year. Lions wide receiver Quintez Cephas and Lions safety C.J. Moore were also suspended, but they were suspended indefinitely for betting on NFL games. Jameson Williams and Stanley Berryhill were suspended for betting on non-NFL games at the Lions facility. Commanders defensive lineman Shaka Toney was also suspended for the year for betting on NFL games as well. You see the trend here, and I'm going to get to this trend. Stanley Berryhill, C.J. Moore, and Quintez Cephas have all been released by the Lions. Jameson Williams is still there. The suspensions are still there for those players, but they're not. They're free agents now. Shaka Toney has not been suspended as of yet or released as of yet, I don't think. I think he's still with the Washington Commanders, and Jameson Williams is still with the Detroit Lions. So here's my point. You see the mixture of punishments. Now here's my deal. Here's my thing. I'm not hating on the suspension aspect of it. I think that punishments do need to be handed out. I think it's wrong, and if you're violating rules, you do not need to keep on, betting and keep on doing this. Don't break the rules. I've said this before. I said it in a previous episode of Pigskin Frenzy. Go back and listen to it on all platforms. But yeah, I've said this before. You do not need to, keep breaking the rules. Here's my thing. What's the punishment, though? We need to make it clear and concise. I'm starting to go on a rant here, and it's honestly, when you report on this stuff, it's like, okay, so what are we actually doing here? What are we reporting on? Or are we going to say that they're going to get suspended for, a year? Are we going to say that they're going to get suspended for 6 games, 5 games, 4, whatever, right? So it's weird, right? It's like targeting in college football. No, this is not Tuesday. I keep saying this. I know this is not Tuesday, but let me just give you this example. It's like college football. College football is, is known for, targeting, I guess, like headshots. I was going to say headshots, but targeting is the better word for it. Tackling with the crown of the helmet. That's the best way to put it. Tackling with the crown of the helmet. So, head and neck area, if you're leading on to that with that area and leading on with your head towards that area and with your crown of the helmet, that's targeting, as well as your head, blasting with you, hitting with the head, that's targeting. Shoulder below, it's fine. Obviously, the shoulder area is fine. It's not targeting. Could be unnecessary roughness if the hit was bad enough, but it's not targeting. Usually it's not unnecessary roughness. In the NFL, headshots are unnecessary roughness. They don't have targeting really in the NFL, but in college they do. So it's like, okay, you hit your head with the shoulder, lead on, lead with the shoulder. And if you lead with the shoulder and hit with your shoulder, or if you lead with your shoulder, and hit the head, it's still not targeting, but they call it targeting. And there are some times where there's clear, decisive, okay, crown of the helmet, hit with the head, and they don't call it targeting. So it's confusing. It's like, what is this? Like, what is the rule? That is what I'm saying about this punishment right here. It really is. It's like, it's confusing. It confuses me. It's confusing a lot of spectators. A lot of people that I've talked to say, okay, with the policy, should they be, they should be suspended a year, and make it concise. Some people have said, okay, don't suspend them for a year, make it concise, but suspend them for 6 games. But here's my point. Key word, make it clear and concise. Make it a clear punishment. So here's my understanding, and what I get from this is this. The NFL is going to suspend people who are betting on NFL games, including their own team, betting on NFL games from their facilities and on their own team. That's suspended for a whole year. But if you tack on betting on your own team, then you get released, right? But if you're betting on non-NFL sports like college football, NBA, at a facility of an NFL facility, you're in trouble and you get suspended, but you get suspended for half the season. Here's my thing. I think that we need to make it more concise, right? I think that if you want to release them, sure, but I think the punishment should be at least the season. If you want to make it the season, if you're really adamant about making it the season, make it the season, because it is a rule breaker. Do not break the rules, but at the same time, these punishments are kind of not fair and not just, in my honest thoughts. They're not. I mean, you're going to suspend guys for betting on NFL games for a whole year, but then turn around and suspend, the Lions wide receiver like Jameson Williams and Nicholas Petit-Frere for 6 games for betting on non-NFL games, but it was at an NFL facility, so you're going to suspend them. It doesn't matter. If it's on NFL grounds, regardless, the punishment should be the same. Doesn't matter if you're betting on, anything. Like if you're betting on, games or what have you, right? It doesn't matter. If you're betting on games, non-NFL sports, NFL, on NFL grounds, the punishment should be the same, whether it's 6 games or the whole season. It should be the same. I've gone over this before. I'm pretty sure I'm beating a dead horse with this, but you got to make it clear and concise. It's not. And that's my frustration. That's my argument. Here's where I stand with it. And here's what I would do if I am Roger Goodell, if I'm anybody in the NFL, and if I'm up in management, up in front office in New York. Here's what we do. We meet with owners, we meet with management, and we decide and have a vote on a policy that works and a policy that is clear, fair, just, and concise with the punishment and the rules and regulations of the National Football League. That's fair. It's not, it's all over the place, and I'm not a fan of it. It's like, it's like people are trying out different things, and it's not, no, you can't do it like that. You can't play with rules like that, This ain't, going to, the cookie store and saying, I want a chocolate chip cookie, but, I'm kind of, but the next day I'm going to, I'm going to get this. I'm going to mix and match. You can't mix and match with this. Weird reference, I know, with the cookie store thing, but you can't go with this, with regulations, and something serious like this. You got to make it clear and concise. That's my point. It's been my point from day one. It was my point a few weeks back during Pigskin Frenzy, an episode of Pigskin Frenzy. I feel like I'm going on a rant at this point. And I'm being dead serious. I'm being completely serious. It's enough. It's enough's enough with literally, okay, I'm going to suspend somebody for a year, but we're going to suspend somebody for 6 games. It doesn't make any sense. Does it matter if it's NFL and non-NFL games? According to the NFL, it does, but it shouldn't. If it's here's my reasoning. If it's at an NFL facility, practice, stadium, wherever facility, on employee grounds, if you're betting non-sports, especially NFL games, and especially on your team, you shouldn't do it, and you need to get suspended for a year or 6 games or what have you, but make it concise. I don't think it's fair or just that Jameson Williams is, getting suspended 6 games while other people are getting suspended for the whole year. These other people need to get suspended for 6 games, or Jameson Williams needs to get suspended for the whole year. Nothing taking anything away from Jameson Williams or Stanley Berryhill or any of those guys. I think they're phenomenal players. I just think it's not really all that fair for, I think it needs to be a clear and concise punishment, right? I do. I think that the 6 games is a little, a little just kind of mid, if that's what the teens now words used nowadays, right? The word mid. So I think it's mid. I really do. Mid means average, middle. I think it's kind of meh, if that makes sense. It's a better way to put it. Sorry for my grammar there, but it's kind of just, so-so, right? It's literally just, it's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, man, we need a clear and concise ruling. And that's just what I think. Jameson Williams, nothing against him, and I'm not calling him out. I'm not calling anybody out, right? But I'm just saying that I think there needs to be more ruling and more clear, concise ruling instead of just sitting there and, okay, this guy gets 6 games because he betted on non-NFL games. But wait a minute, this guy is going to get the whole year taken away from his playing career because he betted on NFL games. I get it, and the games matter. The games do matter. Here's the problem, though. I think what matters more is you're doing it at an NFL facility and you're doing it on NFL grounds. That's what matters more. I think the rules need to be changed a little bit. They need to be cleared up and cleaned up a bit. I kept on saying this, and I'm going to keep on pushing it and preaching it. I think it is right for the suspensions to be dealt for every player, for the season, and I think even for 6 games. I think it's right that they're suspended, right? I think it's right that they're suspended and that the punishments were just and fair. Punishments were just and fair. Here's what I don't think is just and fair for the amount of the suspension. The amount of the suspension needs to be more clear-cut and concise with the other suspensions. Doesn't matter if it's non-NFL games. Doesn't matter if it's NFL games in general. Make it clear and concise for the whole rule. If you do this, That's the penalty. No changing, nothing. You're going to get that punishment, right? I think that's how it used to be. I think a lot of stuff has been changed now, and I think we need to go back to, okay, we're going to lay down the law on this, right? So you hit someone on the field, with an illegal hit, right? You get a penalty or a fine, right? In NBA, for flopping, right? Is it fair that Derrick Rose get, flops flops, and then they penalize him and they fine him for 5,000 for flopping, right? 5,000. They penalize him 5,000 for flopping. And then Nikola Jokic flops and they fine him 1,000 for flopping. Derrick Rose has to pay 4,000 more because he did the same thing that Nikola Jokic just did, but Nikola Jokic has more of a star build around him because, he gets less. It's not right. It's not. I think it needs to be fair, clear, cut, and precise with this punishment. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at. That's the metaphor I'm using because it needs to be fair and just. That's all I really have. I mean, it's really, not too much of a thing. I'm not trying to go on a rant here, but I'm just trying to get my point across, and it needs to be made, and it's a point that needs to be made. It really does. I mean, clear, cut, and concise punishment. Listen, nothing taken away against any of these players. Nothing. Jameson Williams is a phenomenal receiver, and I cannot wait to see what he does with the Lions. I'm a big fan of Jameson Williams, and I cannot wait to see what he does when he gets back on the field for the Detroit Lions this coming up season. But I do think the suspensions need to be clear and concise with everybody else's. If everybody else is getting suspended for a year, I think the other players that are getting suspended need to get suspended for a year also, or vice versa. If they're getting suspended 6 games, the other people need to get suspended 6 games, and this needs to be a clear, concise ruling for just for in general, right? If anybody does it, the same ruling and the same punishment gets dealt with no matter who you are. And I think that's what needs to be fair and right. Doesn't matter about your status, and doesn't matter about who you are. The punishment needs to be the same for everybody in the NFL on gambling. So that's really all I got for today. Again, a big thank you for taking some time out of your your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some NFL coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the episode, and leave a comment down below. Spotify, if you're listening on there, share around with others and follow on there as well. Podbean, same thing. If you're listening on there, share around with others and follow on there as well. We have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Twitter, it's at pigskin_frenzy, all lowercase. All you got to do is type that bad boy in on the search engine. You'll find it. Follow and like the page there. You'll get episode updates as well as news and highlights from across college and NFL football. Facebook, same thing. All you got to do is type in Pigskin Frenzy. You'll find it. Follow and like the page there. You'll get episode updates as well as news and highlights from across college and NFL football. And Instagram, just type in at Pigskin Frenzy. Follow and like the page there. You'll get episode updates, trivias, as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Again, big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some NFL coverage. Again, presented by me. Now, Tuesday, a July 4th special edition of Pigskin Frenzy. We're going to dive deep into the world of college football once again. You're not going to want to miss it. I'm Joel Norris signing off, and we will see you Tuesday for a July 4th special of Pigskin Frenzy Tuesday. And for everybody out there, stay the course.